last year was a tough winter. So
It was.
what do you think this year?
Well, I think we're definitely in a pattern where this will probably be the third winter in a row that's sort of a traditional Maine winter. I think that folks should think of this upcoming winter as it may not be a blockbuster winter, but it's definitely not going to be an open winter where, like we had 4 years ago where we sort of didn't get much snow.
You had written in a recent blog post that last month, November, was a little colder, and of course we had some snow, a little more than we're used to in that month. So what does that tell us about what we should be expecting the rest of the way?
Yeah, so sometimes we get winters that start really early in October. And what's interesting is that when you get those winters that start at that time of the year, I think back to 1979 when we had some snow on October 9th and 10th, the winter itself was very mild. When you get a winter that kind of starts this time of the year, so it's an early start, but it's still in the time frame, we tend to have a more traditional winter. That said, I think the atmosphere is going to take a break here in December. So there was so much cold and so much snow, not just here in Maine, but in New England and other parts of the country as well, that the atmosphere will sort of take a break. So I think that at least for the first few weeks of this month in December, things will be a little bit less chaotic and less cold.
As you say, Dave, it's difficult to predict a certain amount of time out. And I know that when the Farmer's Almanac came out in August, a lot of people were a little upset because they were saying that it was going to be another bitter cold Arctic type of winter. That's a prediction that is well in advance of the actual winter. So what are your views on that, and how far out can we really kind of rely on the forecast?
Yeah, so climate forecasting is getting better. I think there's a lot of good things about the Farmer's Almanac. I wouldn't hold a lot of stock necessarily in that particular winter forecast. That said, what's getting more accurate now are these 30 to 45 day warmer or colder, wetter or drier than normal forecasts. So that's one of the reasons why I feel pretty confident about December not being as cold average-wise. Now remember, it's December, so even if we were 2 degrees above normal in December, it would still feel like winter.
Right.
But I'm not expecting a blockbuster cold December because of some of the computer models we're looking at.
And January?
So then you start getting out, so then you start getting a little further out, and then you start having to look at, rather than the computer models, then we start looking at what's going on in the world. One of the things that we have is a weak El Nino this year. So in weak El Nino years, Maine tends to experience a colder and slightly snowier winter than average. But it's not dramatically colder. As a matter of fact, the northern part of the state may have sort of a very normal. When you look at the final numbers, it may be normal. It's hard with averages, though, because you can get a week where it's way above or way below, and that gives the whole month the perception in the record books that it was above or below. But people may not feel that way, right? 3 weeks of really cold weather and 1 week of super warm weather may average out above normal. But to nobody would the month have been above normal.
Okay, great. Thanks very much, Dave. If you'd like to get more weather information from Dave, please follow his blog, The Maine Forecast, on pressherald.com.